They sure have in the reverse grid showdown, wrapping out the Southern 200 and the B&T V8s. Remember, they take the points for the drivers earned from the first two races, reverse the order. Then they also got to add in a few demerit points as well, and also things for infringement. So that's the reason why we have a different looking grid on the BP Ultimate grid. It's Johnny Hepburn from Timaru on pole. Outside him, Mac Peach.
Row TC's the forwards of Angus Fogg and Michael Bristow.
That's Simon Richards and Nick Ross, the two boys from the Waikato.
Then have Dale Williams and another one that has to be considered a favourite, Kane Scott.
Next up, Andrew Anderson, alongside him, Andrew Porter, the two Andys side by side.
Then have John Penny, and then we have championship rival, Johnny McIntyre.
Chris Adams, great result in the last race. Outside him, Timmy Edgell.
Then have Adam Brook and new boy Eddie Bowell.
Brook also coming off a good performance, just like Inky Tulloch as well, and Paul Manuel in the Oryx Commodore.
Then get to the fast charges. We have Paul Peterson. Next door to him is Craig Baird.
And this is where it's all going to happen from the rear of the grid. What can Boothie do in that battle to try and win the weekend from down the rear of the grid with young 17-year-old David Hopper, also doing very well in that second race in the B&T V8s. So we've had slicks, we've had wets, we've had dry, we've had rain, we've had everything. Now we've got the 20-lapper. Mac Peach, the boy from the Bombay. This is on board Angus Fogg, the second row of the grid, and that's Johnny Hepburn up in front.
You'll see there, you see the brake lights on. What they do is that they have the car in first gear with the brake lights on, just preloading the engines. The foot will come off the brake, away we go.
These two flyers from the second row, watch out for them. First into that sweeper, look at Fogg. Straight through the middle and into the lead.
And that's what this new rule does. It allows the guys to fan out and create a bit of excitement. Let's look for the guys at the back.
So Fogg's off to a flyer. Hepburn's got buried from pole. Mac Peach into the sweeper.
Yeah, and this is where the race...
contact!
Oh, no, right in he goes. Is he going to...
Oh, that's a big hit!
That's a really big hit, Clint. The problem here is the outfield is so...
He's not happy either.
No, and he's got no right to be happy, to be honest. He should be furious.
The Barn Company, Ford, the SCG racing team out of Taupo, Mac Peach, and he's just buried up against that wall there coming out of the sweeper. That's the worst place you want to go off on this track. That'll bring out the safety car for sure.
Oh, actually, red flag. The race has stopped. I wonder if that's because he can't actually get out of the car. Actually, let's just hope he's all right, because there's no... Oh, here he is. Fantastic. Good to see him get out. He's going to be somewhat frustrated, though.
Well, let's take a look at why. This is the replay of the incident coming into the sweeper. That's Peach there. Two cars behind him, Michael Bristow, and the inside is Simon Richards.
So what's happening here, Mac Peach was a little bit off the apex, and there was two or three cars around him. Maybe we can get a different angle, see what happened before the corner.
Let's have a look on board Simon Richards in the SCW Eurodrive Ford.
See what happened there, the white car went down. That upset Mac, but it got him a little bit off the apex. He's trying to carry that momentum around, trying to get on the inside.
Now we're on board Michael Bristow in the Texon side forward.
Right there, he's trying to come across. Fortunately, there's car on the inside, car on the outside, nowhere to go.
That's motor racing, a restart, painful lesson.
Go.
And a painful crash for the boys out of Taupo. But look at this, life's good for Foggy. Another flyer gets the green flag and he's away. And the LG Motorsport Ford Falcon started from that second row of the grid along with Bristow, but it's Fogg who's just cleared off.
Look who's leaving in the background there. Kane Scott's making his way through.
Richards down the inside of Bristow. No problems this time around the sweeper.
No, look who's leaving in the background in the mirror. Nick Ross. We know there's absolutely no love lost between these two whatsoever.
Kane Scott's making good ground, so too Johnny McIntyre as well.
I was actually going to make the comment, wonder where Craig Baird and Andy Booth are. Last half of the field starting to make their presence felt.
Bit of panel damage on the Texon side forward of Michael Bristow. Nick Ross of the Total Lubricants Stingray 007 Commodore.
We see the circuit year and year provide the best entertainment for the reverse grid race. The reason why that is because it's such a fast, high-speed circuit. The cars are very similar.
Order on the brake.
Oh, that's a surprise. Sorry to butt in there. It's a surprise because the race is still relatively young in duration. If they need the brakes on this early, it's going to be interesting to watch towards the end.
Kane Scott in that Fujitsu heat pump forward, trying to take Nick Ross around the outside of the big loop.
What I was trying to allude to just a couple of minutes ago is that this circuit provides close racing. Because the cars are relatively close in speed and lap times, you know, you can be half a second off, and you can actually hold the field up because there's not that many passing opportunities.
Stabicraft Ford of Dale Williams up front. Oh, drama for him as Adam Brook dives down the inside through Castrol into the S's.
Yeah, just simply a fantastic move by Adam Brook.
Versatile driving around here at Teretonga today. Fogg, Anderson, Richards. That's your top three, and then a freight train of V8s.
Fortunately, Kane Scott's here is getting caught up in someone else's battle. Someone else happens to be Nick Ross and Michael Bristow, but he needs to be a bit careful. As I say, there's no love lost between those two. They owe each other a few favours. Anything could unfold.
Timmy Edgell and the Chesters Ford looking for some racing room down the outside of Dale Williams. On board Andrew Porter looking back at Craig Beard.
This is the draft we're talking about. It sucks the cars in behind him because the car in front's punching the hole for it.
And look who's shadowing him, Boothie. This is the battle for third place in the championship, remember, and also to win the weekend. They're right beside each other. Andy Knight up in front of the Milwaukee Ford.
That Andy Knight must have got a good start because he actually started behind Craig and Andy at the start of the race.
Fogg's certainly the quickest out there at the moment. And look who's shadowing Kane Scott not too far, trying to get past John Penny. It's Johnny McIntyre.
We do the switch around and have a good run and try to get down the inside, let the corner come down to the front straight. Hope we can see it.
At least for the drivers, they know it's a dry race. And they're on slick tyres on a dry track.
Certainly gives them a bit of certainty, so to speak.
On board with Kane Scott, down the inside of Nick Ross. Great shots on board the B&T V8s.
Just a check in the mirror there to make sure he's got enough car speed, got past Nick Ross where he can come across the circuit, set himself up for the perfect position for turn one.
Had so much success on this track, would love to leave here with the lead in the championship, but there's his nemesis lurking in the green machine, the green and white.
It's interesting, this in the Kane Scott's car there, he's actually changing to second gear around the sweeper. Most cars would be in third.
What, just searching for a bit more grip?
It's a little bit more grip. It's a little bit of slower gear. Maybe because he's still caught around traffic. He just wants to make sure he gets good speed off the corner and maintains that position.
Eddie Bell under attack from Paul Pedersen.
I can't help but thinking here, Clint, that Andy Booth and Craig Beard are so tied up with each other, trying to defend each other, you know, from winning the round. They're not making the inroads we would expect them to.
Struggling to get through the field, unlike Scott and McIntyre, the two guys leading the championship.
Because rest assured, once one passes one car, the other's going to come straight through as well.
Stabby Craft just built down here in Southland, just not too far away from the track here at Teretonga. Dale Williams.
So interesting, we saw the Igniter video cars still smoking. The team obviously hasn't fixed the problem from race 1 or race 2 for that matter.
Johnny McIntyre, of course, had that big win in the first race and then was DQ'd. So he's really in the old let's chase the championship, pick up the points mode. The Eaton Fluid Power Ford this weekend. This is a great shot around that everlasting sweeper.
Okay, you'll hear Johnny Mack was actually in third gear. The reason we can hear that is coming out of the corner, he didn't change gear at all. Hence, he's in a higher one than what we saw Kane.
Simon Richards had the big rebuild to get that car ready for this weekend. They did a fantastic job.
He's probably going to try really hard to get past you, Mike. That's one of those things he's probably going to get you anyway, but just make sure you can get him through clean, that's all.
Word of caution coming from the team radio.
Not too sure what that was alluding to here.
On board Michael Bristow. Under attack, under the pump from Kane Scott.
Okay, you see him sucked in. Okay, he's going to go to the left from our footage. Remember, Mike cannot let his car drift to the left. He's decided which line he's going to take, has to stick with it. See, there you go, third, second gear. See what it's done? It's allowing him to accelerate, jump on the back of Michael's car. Okay, you hear that gear change up to third gear.
Quick check to see with McIntyre right behind him, driving in the rear vision mirror at the same time.
He's the meat in the sandwich. He's got to be aggressive yet defensive at the same time.
So long as he stays in front of McIntyre, he'll keep the lead, but drama there for Andrew Porter in the 111 car.
Andy Knight turned me around, I think.
He reckons Andy Knight might have turned him around. Let's take a look. Right, this is the Castrol, and there's Andy Knight straight into the rear of Andrew Porter.
Yeah, Andy coming there a bit overcommitted. You see that the front side of the car was already locked up. I think Andrew's actually correct in his assumption that it was Andy Knight that put him off.
So he might be in for a DT here, a drive-through penalty, Andy Knight, in the Milwaukee Ford. Let's take a look on board the car of Andrew Porter, the Hyundai Construction Hydrolink car.
See, there was smoke coming everywhere, tyre squealing.
So let's take a look at the Hydrolink best under pressure moment. And you're on board Inky Tulloch. Look at that. He sees Porter and quick evasive action. Well done, Inky.
I don't know about you, but I actually jumped out of my seat.
Yeah, it could have been stinky Inky if he didn't do that quick move.
And here's a visit to pit lane for the drive-through penalty, as we suspected was going to happen with that contact with Andrew Porter.
So stick around. Who knows what's going to happen next at the B&T V8s. Welcome back to the Southern 200. Angus Foggy's done the fastest lap so far, a 103.314. Andrew Anderson holding on to second place. Big gap back to a great scrap for third. Richards, Bristow, Scott, McIntyre.
Never ceases to amaze me how high they're running the Commodores. When you see that second place car of Andrew Anderson, you can actually see right underneath the whole car when it's coming down the straight. The Fords, on the other hand, are actually very close to the ground. The front split is actually dragging on the ground. It's a good drag race going on here, but Johnny's got the preferred line. It's
a great drag strip, that main straight at Teretonga. And he takes Bristow into the sweep up. So McIntyre moving up the field now.
You do. That photo actually made it look like Michael Bristow had more horsepower than what Johnny Mackin's car do. I think you'll find for the reality, the rear part of the car, you see it has a rear wing on it. Now that rear wing, we can actually make adjustments, so you can actually go on a higher plane or a lower plane. When it's up high, it gives the car more downforce, more grip for the traffic. The byproduct or the downside of that makes the car slightly slower in a straight line.
Of course, you talked about how the drivers have to bank those tyres for qualifying, and then they have to keep some tyres so that the rubber meets the road in the end of this reverse grid race.
Be wet around the back the next time around. It'll be wet around the back.
You can see that, Clint. You can see the rain coming in thick and fast.
Wipers are on, and now we have changing conditions again. What a weekend in the Southern 200. Is there more drama to come? Simon Richards under the pump from Kane Scott. There's the rain.
Now, we saw this in race 2. These guys are all pioneers now. What I mean by that, okay, we're coming down, we're on slicks. The lap before it was dry. Now it's going to be a little wet. These guys have to calculate how much grip there is in every corner they go into now.
The two leaders in the championship, 1 and 2, Kane Scott, Johnny McIntyre, having a great duel here.
It's interesting here. You know, we have a look at this footage, it's clear. You go to the other part of the circuit, it's raining.
So a real challenge for the drivers of the B&T V8s, changing conditions, changing positions.
It's ran about right around here. Last lap we actually saw the rain, so maybe 1/3 of the track's wet, the other 2/3 are dry.
And both these guys have had their dramas this weekend. The chase for the championship. Andrew Anderson in the ITM Commodore, holding on to second place.
Yeah, you can
oh, no, he's not!
The commentator's cursed, didn't I? Done in race 2, you're delivering it out in
well,
race
he is
3.
at the moment, but look, he's got the rest of the field funneling down on top of him.
And that's what I go back to these guys being pioneers. You know, they really have no idea what the level of grip's got to be. They've got to go hard and fast as they can, yet still be safe enough to get around the corners.
Boothie and Baird further back down the field, trying to crack it into the top 10. Bristow. Nursing it through the sweeper, a little bit of feather on the throttle.
It's a long way around, but if he can actually live or survive here, he's going to have the preferred run down the straight to the next corner, so I think he's going to make this move stick.
Simon Richards looking for a bit of Euro drive out of his car. Holds on to it, Nick Ross.
Was that the brother-in-law giving it a bit of rub, or did he just get sideways?
The old family feud. Look at McIntyre. How close can you be? Close enough to try and take a move into the hairpin around the brickyard.
You look for the run on the inside, but now we get into the damp part of the circuit.
Looks like it's drying out again out here. So it might have just been a brief passing shower.
It does. Now, where the shower differs from the start of the race is this race is already established. So we've got 30-plus cars driving around. So the circuit already have a bit of ambient temperature built into it. So therefore, any water that gets on is going to dry quicker.
Booth still in front of Craig Baird in that battle to win the weekend and take over third in the championship. So if Booth can just stay in front of Baird, he'll stay in third place. But here's the battle for first and second in the overall series in the B&T V8s. Bristow charging through the field. Richards, Ross. Clean, hard, fast racing. What the Southern fans love.
Paul Manuel also on the back of the train there.
He's looking to try and get into that top 5 with Foggy's problems this weekend overall. This is on board Simon Richards looking back at Nick Ross.
Look at that car of Nick Ross is rolling around. That's the car. That's the setup for you. A little bit softer. We have the same photo of Andrew Anderson's car. You'll see the thing's about 2 feet off the gear and it's just a solid platform.
Good speed in the Commodores, just trying to work on that mid-corner speed. Oh, bit of smoke in the Bandit there.
You look for the run down the inside.
Did he get a tap from Nick?
He did, but also what happened is he come out of the corner there. You hear the car on the rev limiter. Probably got stuck in first gear. Look, that's how you lose 3, 4. I would say there's another couple going to go down the outside here too. Yep.
Paul Manuel there right in the mix in the Oryx Commodore. Charging up behind Adam Brook. Pulls up. Boothie around the outside. There he is, looking.
Isn't it amazing how the fortunes can change? One simple lock of a wheel, you lose 6 car places within the space of 10 seconds.
The Commodore boys trying to take it to the Ford Flyers this weekend. John Penny trying to stay in that top 10, around about 7th and 8th place at the moment. Adam Brook right on his bumper. Fogg clearing away though. On target for another win. Oh, contact there between McIntyre and Scott. Get out of my way.
Nothing in that. This car actually, Johnny McIntyre's, you know, I made comment that because of the rear wing it might be slower. I just think this thing does lack a little bit of horsepower in a straight line.
Well, what about under braking though?
Oh.
Ducks and dives straight under the inside of Scooter.
Man, that just come from nowhere, didn't it?
Used a bit of the old Eaton fluid power there, I think.
Yeah, no, not taking anything away from Kane, but I just can't help but think second gear's just too slow for these cars in the conditions they're in.
Ooh. Problems for David Hopper.
What a shame, because he's had a fantastic couple of weekends, hasn't he?
Young 17-year-old from Whanuapai.
Readdress that party move. Readdress it. Which one? Simon?
I dare say somewhere in the circuit is actually a yellow flag that we may have missed, and it sounds like Andy Booth may have passed someone. That's what Wayne Anderson, or Jacko as we call him, is saying, readdress the position. How many places does he let through? 1, 2. Does Craig Beard come through as well? Oh, hard pull.
Boothie thought it might have been the move under Simon Richards. This is looking back from Richards' car. Locks it up.
I think what would have happened here, come to think of it, that car of David Hopper's is actually on the side of the circuit here along the front straight. Maybe the yellow flag was that. Maybe the run we saw Andy Booth lap before where he passed people down the front straight. That's what Jacko's referring to when he said readdress the position.
Well, he's done that, and now look, he's under the pressure from Craig Beard and Timmy Edgell. Booth regains control just a little bit onto the grass into the sweeper.
What would have happened if Andy Booth hadn't readdressed the position? The officials would have deemed that he passed under a yellow flag. They would have brought him through for a drive-through. It's a smart move what the officials have done and letting the teams and drivers readdress it on the circuit.
Oh, contact there between Edgell and then Simon Richards.
Good save.
Off onto the grass. Can he get it back onto the track and keep going?
Just looks so calm, doesn't he? Oh, there's actually a fair bit of damage.
Well, he might have to come into the pits here, so that's, man, what a dramatic weekend for that team.
He will do. We saw where all the dirt was. Actually, that's in the induction system to keep the engines cool. If he continues for another lap, that car will overheat and expire.
Paul Manuel. Look, and here's the battle for second now. McIntyre's got past Scott. Now can he take Anderson in the same place and move up to second?
I dare say you can, and he has.
So he's really out to try and close that points gap, 45 before the start of this race. Up to second place now. He'll pick up 67 points for second. It's 75 for first, 60 for third.
He's just got so much car speed in this car.
Kane Scott stays where at the moment he'll pick up 54 points for fourth place. Anderson quite happy to try and hold on to a podium finish for the weekend. For race 3.
If you want to know what poetry in motion looks like in a V8 car, you're witnessing it right now. Down to first gear, let's listen to it. Short acceleration. Second gear. Okay, quick sip of the drink bottle. That's what that hose going is. Third gear, up to fourth.
Okay, last lap, mate, last lap.
So Johnny McIntyre's got the race face on for that last lap. Great little battle further back down the field. Booth, Beard, determined to try and get into that top 10.
Keep going. Edgell is Edgel's going to drive through penalty. Edgel's going to drive through penalty.
It's the last lap, so Timmy Edgell, he's got to drive through for the contact with Simon Richards.
What they'll do, they'll actually just impose a time penalty on him because he doesn't have enough laps because it's the last lap to come in and serve that.
Fogg, though, he doesn't have to worry about anything other than the fact that McIntyre's really closing the gap big time, but I don't think he's going to have enough track to try and get up to first, so it's Angus Fogg, had his alternator problems. He'll be absolutely wrapped for the team, the LG Motorsport Ford.
It's actually a very good result because all these guys folded in race one, all to come through, you know, first, second and fourth.
Richards limping across the line as Fogg brings it home to take the win to wrap up the Southern 200. Gets the checkered flag, McIntyre second, Anderson third, and Scott rounds out the top four. Michael Bristow coming home in five, but Foggy, that's what he's been looking for. Gets another win in the B&T V8s. McIntyre closes the gap on Scott of the championship. Anderson rounds out the top three. Nick Ross, Penny, Manuel, and Andy Booth comes home in ninth place, so he takes out the weekend just in front of Craig Beard and stays in third place overall in the championship.
See, there was smoke coming everywhere, tyres squealing.
So let's take a look at the Hydrolink best under pressure moment. And you're on board Inky Tulloch. Look at that. He sees Porter and quick evasive action. Well done, Inky.
I don't know about you, but I actually jumped out of my seat.
Yeah, it could have been stinky, Inky, if you didn't do that quick move.
And here's a visit to pit lane for the drive-through penalty, as we suspected was going to happen with that contact with Andrew Porter.
So stick around. Who knows what's going to happen next at the B&T V8s. Welcome back to the Southern 200. Angus Foggy's done the fastest lap so far, a 103.314. Andrew Anderson holding on to second place. Big gap back to a great scrap for third. Richards, Bristow, Scott, McIntyre.
Never ceases to amaze me how high they're running the Commodores. When you see that second place car of Andrew Anderson, you can actually see right underneath the whole car when it's coming down the straight. The Fords, on the other hand, are actually very close to the ground. The front split is actually dragging on the ground. It's a good drag race going on here, but Johnny's got the preferred line.
It's a great drag strip, that main straight at Tiratonga. And he takes Bristow into the sweep up. So McIntyre moving up the field now.
You do. That photo actually made it look like Michael Bristow had more horsepower than what Johnny Mackin's car do. I think you'll find for the reality, the rear part of the car, you see it has a rear wing on it. Now that rear wing we can actually make adjustments, so you can actually go on a higher plane or a lower plane. When it's up high, it gives the car more downforce, more grip for the traffic. The byproduct of the downside of that makes the car slightly slower in a straight line.
Of course, you talked about how the drivers have to bank those tyres for qualifying, and then they have to keep some tyres so that the rubber meets the road in the end of this reverse grid race.
Be wet around the back the next time around. It'll be wet around the back.
You can see that, Clint. You can see the rain coming in thick and fast.
Wipers are on, and now we have changing conditions again. What a weekend in the Southern 200. Is there more drama to come? Simon Richards under the pump from Kane Scott. There's the rain.
Now, we saw this in race 2. These guys are all pioneers now. What I mean by that, okay, we're coming down, we're on slicks. The lap before it was dry. Now it's going to be a little wet. These guys have to calculate how much grip there is in every corner they go into now.
The two leaders in the championship, 1 and 2, Kane Scott, Johnny McIntyre, having a great duel here.
It's interesting here. You know, we have a look at this footage, it's clear. You go to the other part of the circuit, it's raining.
So a real challenge for the drivers of the B&T V8s, changing conditions, changing positions.
It's roundabout right around here. The last lap we actually saw the rain, so maybe 1/3 of the track's wet, the other 2/3 are dry.
And both these guys have had their dramas this weekend. The chase for the championship. Andrew Anderson in the ITM Commodore, holding on to second place.
Yeah, you can actually...
no, he's not!
The commentator's cursed, Clint. I done it in race 2. You're delivering it out in
Well,
race
he is
3.
at the moment, but look. He's got the rest of the field funneling down on top of him.
And that's what I go back to these guys being pioneers. You know, they really have no idea what the level of grip's got to be. They've got to go hard and fast as they can, yet still be safe enough to get around the corners.
Boothie and Baird further back down the field, trying to crack it into the top 10. Bristow. Nursing it through the sweeper, a little bit of feather on the throttle.
It's a long way around, but if he can actually live or survive here, he's going to have the preferred run down the straight to the next corner, so I think he's going to make this move stick.
Simon Richards looking for a bit of Euro drive out of his car. Holds on to it, Nick Ross.
Was that the brother-in-law giving it a bit of a rub, or did he just get sideways?
The old family feud. Look at McIntyre. How close can you be? Close enough to try and take a move into the hairpin around the brickyard.
You look for the run on the inside, but now we get into the damp part of the circuit.
Looks like it's drying out again out here. So it might have just been a brief passing shower.
It does. Now, where the shower differs from the start of the race is this race is already established. So we've got 30-plus cars driving around. So the circuit already have a bit of ambient temperature built into it. So therefore, any water that gets on is going to dry quicker.
Booth still in front of Craig Baird in that battle to win the weekend and take over third in the championship. So if Booth can just stay in front of Baird, he'll stay in third place. But here's the battle for first and second in the overall series in the B&T V8s. Bristow charging through the field. Richards, Ross. Clean, hard, fast racing. What the Southern fans love.
Paul Manuel also on the back of the train there.
He's looking to try and get into that top 5 with Foggy's problems this weekend overall. This is on board Simon Richards looking back at Nick Ross.
Look at that car of Nick Ross is rolling around. That's the car. That's the setup for you. A little bit softer. We have the same photo of Andrew Anderson's car. You'll see the thing's about 2 feet off the gear, and it's just a solid platform.
Good speed in the Commodores, just trying to work on that mid-corner speed. Oh, bit of smoky in the Bandit there.
You look for the run down the inside.
Did he get a tap from Nick?
He did, but also what happened is he come out of the corner there. You hear the car on the rev limiter. Probably got stuck in first gear. Look, that's how you lose 3, 4. I would say there's another couple going to go down the outside here too. Yep.
Paul Manuel there right in the mix in the Oryx Commodore. Charging up behind Adam Brook. Pulls up. Boothie around the outside. There he is, looking.
Isn't it amazing how the fortunes can change? One simple lock of a wheel, you lose 6 car places within the space of 10 seconds.
The Commodore boys trying to take it to the Ford Flyers this weekend. John Penny trying to stay in that top 10, around about 7th and 8th place at the moment. Adam Brook right on his bumper. Fogg clearing away though. On target for another win. Oh, contact there between McIntyre and Scott. Get out of my way.
Nothing in that. This car actually, Johnny McIntyre's, you know, I made comment that because of the rear wing it might be slower. I just think this thing does lack a little bit of horsepower in a straight line.
Well, what about under braking though? Oh, ducks and dives straight under the inside of Scooter.
Man, that just come from nowhere, didn't it?
Used a bit of the old Eaton fluid power there, I think.
You know, not taking anything away from Kane, but I just can't help but think second gear's just too slow for these cars in the conditions they're in.
Oh. Problems for David Hopper.
What a shame, because he's had a fantastic couple of weekends, hasn't he?
Young 17-year-old from Whenuapai.
Readdress that party move. Readdress it. Which one? Simon.
I dare say somewhere in the circuit is actually a yellow flag that we may have missed, and it sounds like Andy Booth may have passed someone. That's what Wayne Anderson, or Jacko as we call him, is saying, readdress the position. How many places does he let through? 1, 2. Does Craig Beard come through as well? Oh, hard pull.
Boothie thought it might have been the move under Simon Richards. This is looking back from Richards' car. Locks it up.
I think what would have happened here, come to think of it, that car of David Hopper's is actually on the side of the circuit here along the front straight. Maybe the yellow flag was that. Maybe the run we saw Andy Booth lap before where he passed people down the front straight. That's what Jacko's referring to when he said readdress the position.
Well, he's done that, and now look, he's under the pressure from Craig Beard and Timmy Edgell. Booth regains control just a little bit onto the grass into the sweeper.
What would have happened if Andy Booth hadn't readdressed the position? The officials would have deemed that he passed under a yellow flag. They would have brought him through for a drive-through. It's a smart move what the officials have done and letting the teams and drivers readdress it on the circuit.
Oh, contact there between Edgell and then Simon Richards.
Good save.
Off onto the grass. Can he get it back onto the track and keep going?
Just looks so calm, doesn't he? Oh, there's actually a fair bit of damage.
Well, he might have to come into the pits here, so that's, man, what a dramatic weekend for that team.
He will do. We saw where all the dirt was. Actually, that's in the induction system to keep the engines cool. If he continues for another lap, that car will overheat and expire.
Paul Manuel. Look, and here's the battle for second now. McIntyre's got past Scott. Now can he take Anderson in the same place and move up to second?
I dare say he can, and he has.
So he's really out to try and close that points gap, 45 before the start of this race. Up to second place now. He'll pick up 67 points for second. It's 75 for first, 60 for third.
He's just got so much car speed in this car.
Kane Scott stays where at the moment he'll pick up 54 points for fourth place. Anderson quite happy to try and hold on to a podium finish for the weekend. For race 3.
If you want to know what poetry in motion looks like in a V8 car, you're witnessing it right now. Down to first gear, let's listen to it. Short acceleration. Second gear. Okay, quick sip of the drink bottle. That's what that hose going is. Third gear, up to fourth.
Okay, last lap, mate, last lap.
So Johnny McIntyre's got the race face on for that last lap. Great little battle further back down the field. Booth, Beard, determined to try and get into that top 10.
Keep going. Edgell has got
It's the last lap, so Timmy Edgell, he's got to drive through for the contact with Simon Richards.
What they'll do, they'll actually just impose a time penalty on him because he doesn't have enough laps because it's the last lap to come in and serve that.
Fogg, though, he doesn't have to worry about anything other than the fact that McIntyre's really closing the gap big time, but I don't think he's going to have enough track to try and get up to first, so it's Angus Fogg, had his alternator problems. He'll be absolutely wrapped for the team, the LG Motorsport Ford.
It's actually a very good result because all these guys folded in race one, all to come through, you know, first, second and fourth.
Richards limping across the line as Fogg brings it home to take the win to wrap up the Southern 200. Gets the checkered flag, McIntyre second, Anderson third, and Scott rounds out the top four. Michael Bristow coming home in 5, but Foggy, that's what he's been looking for. Gets another win in the B&T V8s. McIntyre closes the gap on Scott of the championship. Anderson rounds out the top 3. Nick Ross, Penny, Manuel, and Andy Booth comes home in 9th place, so he takes out the weekend just in front of Craig Beard and stays in 3rd place overall in the championship.